Okay, see, one of the main reason why Hibernate is so successful in the market is because of its powerful ORM support. ORM support means object relational mapping support. It's very powerful in Hibernate. There are other technologies like JDO, TopLink and all that. IBATIS, many are there. But among all these ORM technologies which are available in the market, Hibernate is the most powerful ORM technology, and that is why it is used extensively in many of the projects while coding. Done. So now to understand that, we'll see now. What is writing? See, understand this. See, Hibernate supports various types of mapping. The various types of mapping what your Hibernate supports. Okay, among them the most popular and the extensively used mappings worldwide are two. Basic mapping, the first one, and the other one is association mapping. So these are the extensively used mappings of the Hibernate worldwide. Generally in your coding projects now you'll be doing mapping, and these two mappings are the extensively used ones. The other mappings you don't have to worry about that, but these are the most important and extensively used mappings across all your projects. So I'll be covering these two important mappings only. So today I'll be covering the basic mapping. Okay? Today I'll be covering the basic mapping. Now, see, basic mapping, why it is used. So this basic mapping is used to map your Java data types to SQL data types. What is the meaning of that? See, generally when you are writing projects, okay, you'll be having various environments. So now when you are writing your code will be running in the JVM, or that is the Java environment. Correct? So in your Java environment, what you'll be doing is you'll be holding the values. So in Java environment, you'll hold the values what? In Java data types. So Java is giving you sufficient data types to store all your values in the primary memory. Like if I want to store the value like 10, I can use the int data type. If I want to store a value called as Ravi, I can use the string data type. If I want to store 10.59, I can use the double data type. Like that, many data types Java is giving you to store your required values. Clear? Similarly, if you see in the SQL side, that's another environment now, database. Okay, so finally these values will be stored into database only, that is SQL environment. To store the same values, SQL is giving you some other data types. What are they? Int, varchar, understood? Then you are having date, so many are there, double is there, so there are various other data types which are present in SQL. Fine. So finally what happens when you are writing a project, okay, so it so happens that all your values which are there in the primary memory will be stored into the secondary memory. Means from one environment they move into other environment. That is for storing. Again, when you read the values from SQL environment, you'll bring it into the Java environment. So but what you have to understand is the value remains the same here. Clear? See this. In Java, if I want to store the value called as Ravi, I'll use which data type? String data type. The same value is same. Okay, but in this is in Java. But in SQL, I'll be using varchar. This will be in SQL. So see the difference. So they have their own data types. So one environment or one environment will have its own data type. One is string, other one is varchar. But the value remains same now. So this is very important, crucial concept now. So that's what we'll be seeing now. This Hibernate mapping now, it's so powerful that it helps you to map what? The Java data types to your SQL data types. So let's start understanding. So see this Java type now, you'll understand. So first see the class. It is called as what? Employee. So in this class, I'm having some properties. Look at all the properties now. I'm having EMP ID. Clear? So it is of type what? Integer. So till now your ID was of type int. But now what I'm using? Integer. Means till now you have worked with primitives. You are storing the value in primitive and storing the values into the database. That's okay. But now I'm using what? Wrapper class. So sometimes it ends up, sometimes in your writing projects you will end up storing values in your wrapper classes also. Fine. Then next, ename. Yes, name generally is stored in string. This you have seen, no problem. Now next, sometimes I want to store date. If you want to store the date, in Java we use what? java.util.date. That's one class. So that is a class which has the ability to store what? Date. So fine. So DOJ is what? Date of joining. One variable I am taking. DOJ is a variable of type date. And this DOJ will contain only now date. So fine, this will contain only date. Now see, sometimes you want to store date and time. So in Java, what is the data type I'll use again? I can use date. So date, this is also util date only. This util date, java.util date can store what? Date and time. So you can store date also and time also. So when you're writing your code, see, you'll have many values and you'll be storing into different data types like this. Now I want to store some salary which is of double. So for that I'm still using what? The double data type. Okay. So double is on data type. It's a wrapper class now, and I'll be using the double wrapper class to store my double value. Fine. So like this, see, when you're writing projects, it so happens that you want to store so many types of values, and Java is giving you very powerful support to store all your required type of values. Like it might be int primitives. So if you want to store a 10, 20, 30, Java is giving you both support. What? Primitive support also plus wrapper class support also. But end of the day, it is giving you support for storing all these values, which are the numerical values and all that. So primitives also are there. Which are there? Int, float, double and all are there. Similarly, you have got wrapper classes also. Fine. Now if I want to store string values, Java is giving you a very powerful data type called as string. If I want to store date, you have got date and all that. You can date, time and all you have got. So Java is giving you so many data types. Fine, you will store the values. But end of the day, these values have to finally be stored into what? Your database now. Yes. So let us see now how you design your table. So if this is your Java class, according to that only you have to design what? Your table in the database to store the values now. So there is a class by name employee, that's the entity. So for that entity you will write on table now. So let us see the columns in your table now. One by one you see. I am having EMPID, the other one is ename, the other one is DOJ, fine. Login and salary. So I am the same number of properties. How many properties are there? The same number of columns I will have in the table now. But we are going to create the columns. But what is the data type here? That is very crucial. So EMPID will be of type what now? Int. Why? Because I want to store an int value. But now imagine the value stored in Java integer will be stored into what? Int SQL type. So it has to be converted. Value will be same, but the data type are changing because that is Java environment, this is SQL environment. Clear? So always remember, this is what happens when you write an application. This will be a Java application and this will be your database. So values will move from Java application to database, and likewise means when you store this, means when you are storing a value, it will be moving from Java environment to SQL environment. Similarly, when you read it, what will happen? They will be entering from SQL to Java environment. This will be happening now. So that's the reason. See now how you are doing the columns now. To store the values, for integer I am using int. For string, what data type I am using in SQL? Varchar. Similarly, for date of joining, it's of type date. So what is the SQL type? To store only date, it is a data type called as date. So date is on SQL type which can store only what? Date. Clear? Then next, login. So login will have what? Date and time. So to store that value, I'll use the data type called as date time. So date time is again one SQL data type which can store date and time. Now if I want to store a double value, so the column what I'll be creating is of type double. So these are the different SQL data types what you're seeing now. Int, varchar, date, date time and double. So what will happen is, so when you're storing the value, so this conversion has to happen. Value will be same, but the conversion has to happen. Means the SQL Java type has to be converted to SQL type, and the SQL type has to be converted to Java type. Okay, so this is highly mandatory. Now who will take care of all this? It's the Hibernate. You don't have to worry. So Hibernate will implicitly take care of what? The data type conversions from Java to SQL. Now Java to SQL, why it is required? When you are storing the values. Then next, from SQL to Java, when it is required? When you are reading the values. So both are very essential, and this conversion will be implicitly taken care by the Hibernate now. So how will Hibernate support you this? In a very simple manner. So to do this conversion, Hibernate is giving you some Hibernate mapping types. Okay, it's giving you some Hibernate mapping types. So I'll be introducing those Hibernate mapping types. So let's start seeing now. So fine. So you understood the entity, you understood the table now. Okay, and all the columns. Now we'll see how you do the mapping. End of the day, the values have to be mapped now. Means the properties in the entity has to be mapped with what? The columns of your table. So let's see how it will be done now. So this is your employee.hbm.xml file, the source code. I've written the source code here. Just notice now. Yes, when you are writing your mapping file, so the root tag of your mapping file will be what? Hibernate mapping. So fine. So here the root tag of that will be class. So you are writing the code now. See here, name is one attribute of class tag. I have to give the fully qualified class name to that. Means you'll be storing your employee in one package, no, com.cluster, that fully qualified class name you give. Next, table is equal to employee. Means this class will be mapped, or entity will be mapped with which table? It will be mapped with employee table. So that name of the table you have to provide now. Next, you have mapped the class and the table, but every property has to be mapped with the columns also now. So how will you do it? So first we'll go with the first property now. Yeah. Carefully notice the property names and the column names. The property name and the column name notice. So what is the name of the property? EMPID. What is the name of the column? EMPID. Property name is again ename. What is the column name there? Ename. DOJ. Column name DOJ. Property name login. Column name login. So same. Understood? So this is one of the convention what is followed worldwide. Okay. Even though there can be a mismatch between your property name and column name, we end up having what? Property name and column name with the same names. Reason is it will be easy for us to do the mapping. Understood? Means what I am trying to say is instead of ename I can have NAME. NAME can be mapped with ename there. But generally the worldwide convention followed is property name and column name should be same. It's a convention but not a rule. Fine. So with that in mind, see this now. ID, name is equal to EMPID. So that's the first property now. EMPID has to be mapped with what? EMPID column, correct? So that's it. ID name is equal to EMPID. Fine. This one, the first one, and it will be mapped with what? EMPID column. So mapping becomes easy for you if you follow the conventions. Fine. But ID tag will be used for generating what? Primary key value. You know that. So ID name is equal to EMPID, type is equal to int, column name is equal to EMPID. So you are mapping the ID EMPID property with the EMPID column. And you are using generator class to automatically generate what? Your required primary key value. All that mapping you know now. That is fine. But who will do the conversion? So that is where, means from Java type to SQL type, who will do the conversion? So that is where the Hibernate mapping type comes into picture. So that is why you are using this type. So we are writing here ID name is equal to EMPID, type is equal to int means. So this is what? A Hibernate mapping type. It is this Hibernate mapping type which is responsible for converting Java data types to SQL data types and vice versa. Means SQL data types to Java types. Clear? So just if you provide that value, it will take care now. From your integer will be converted to what? Int, and int will be converted to integer. Fine, this is about the first property. So the next property now. Property name is equal to ename. Yes, that's the next property. Okay, it will be mapped with which column now? Ename column. That's also okay. And you're mapping it. So here what happens? When you do the mapping, now again you have to do the conversion now, from Java to SQL and SQL to Java. Yes, in Java it is of type string, but it has to be converted to varchar. Now who will do that? String. So string is on Hibernate mapping type, which will do that conversion. So these are all Hibernate mapping types. Clear? Fine. Then next the third property, date of joining. So that's the property. Type is equal to what? Okay, we'll come back to type. So property name is DOJ. It will be mapped with the DOJ column. Now again you have to do the conversion. So to do the date conversion, Hibernate mapping type is giving you date mapping type, which will do the Java date conversion to SQL date conversion. Fine. Then next step. Property name is equal to login. Column name is equal to login. So property name of login will be mapped with column, but fine, I want to do the mapping again. Correct? Means the data conversion has to happen. So date and time is required now. So if you want date and time, I'll use which Hibernate mapping type? Timestamp. So timestamp is responsible for converting date and time of Java to date and time to SQL. It will do that conversion. Lastly, the same thing now. Property name is equal to salary, column name is equal to salary. So here what will happen? You are mapping again the property called as salary with the column called as salary. That will be done, and you are telling type is equal to double. So this is also a Hibernate mapping type which will do the conversion from Java to SQL and SQL to Java. So remember, all this which are underlined, these are all called as what? Hibernate mapping types, and they are responsible for doing the conversion from Java to SQL and SQL to Java. Clear? So fine. So I'll be executing this program and I'll be showing you now. But now understand, when I run the code, I'll be storing all the values here in this entity, and when I run the code, what will happen? the values will be stored. Now look at how the values are getting stored here carefully in the table. So the employee ID is 1, name is Ravi. Now date of joining, see it is not having time, it will have only what? Date. To store such kind of date only in SQL we use date. Clear? So 2012 6/24 some value, but for storing this value I will be using the date data type in SQL. Now the next one, login. I want to store the login time, but for login time we need what? Date and time now. See how it will be stored in the database. 2014 7/28 some date, and the time also 12 o'clock 40 minutes 13 seconds something like that. Example I am writing. So this both is required now, date and time. So if you want to store this in SQL, I'll use the data type called as date time. So simple. So you will define your entity and you will create the table and you will do the mapping, and when you run the code, automatically values will be stored into your database table. That's it. Are you clear with this now? So fine. So now I'll execute this program and show to you now all this code. Yeah, for this same thing I have written it in the 5th example here. Basic mapping XML. I'll be showing you this mapping with XML first. Clear? See this, the 5th example. So this is your class, entity class, which I showed you now. Clear? So fine. So if you want to store this, we need on table now. So I have to create a table first. So see now, I have got on tables.sql file here in the same project. I'll open that. I have written the script here. Okay, so this is the query. So first I'll create an employee table. Yeah. So for creating the employee table, I'll be using MySQL database. So I'll go to MySQL now. So I logged into MySQL database. Here I'll go to the user called as test and I'll type show tables. Here there's already a table called as employee. Drop it. So drop table employee. And now create your table, required table. So just copy paste this. Clear? So I'll run the code and the query and the table has been created. So select, I'll just show the values in the table. Select star from employee. See there, are there any records? Right now there are no records in your table. So I'll run my code now and I'll insert it. Clear? So table is ready, entity is ready. Next we have to do what? Mapping. You know the steps now? So yes, I have to do the mapping. That mapping also has been done here. See this code. Same which I explained to you now. Clear? This is the mapping file. Everything is same here. There is no change. So mapping is ready now. Lastly, I have tried what? One configuration file. Configuration file also you know what it is. Clear? So only I have to write the client code and execute now. So I'll come to demo.java. See this. This is my client code. So first you have to populate the entity, create the entity. So how will I do it? So create your entity now. Employee EMP is equal to new employee. But you have to fill the values inside it now. So I have to fill what? Joining date, login time, name, salary. That much 4 values I have to provide. So you see this. Date LT is equal to new date. So that will give me the login time. Date DJ is equal to null means date of joining. Clear? I'll assuming that this comes dynamically from the UI. Okay, it will be coming from the UI, user interface, dynamically. Fine, I'll just parse it and I'll initialize this date now. So I'm having 2 values now, LT and DJ. LT is what? Login time, and DJ will be what? Date of joining. So these 2 values I'll set it now. See, set name, Ravi, set employee. I'll create an object of employee and I'll say employee.set ename, employee.set DOJ, then employee.set login time and employee.set salary. All the values have been set. You know the client code now? Very simple. I'll use the Hibernate util class. That's it. It's the same code. I'll just say save. That's it. So imagine what a powerful support you're getting. It will be automatically inserted into your table now. I have to just execute the code now. Done. So it has inserted a record into the database. So let's go to MySQL now. See the values. Ravi, this is the date of joining. So we actually hard coded there, but this value will come dynamically. This is the login time. So here you can see what? Date and time now. Both you are seeing. And as well as what? Salary. 10,000.00 I passed. Correct? Huh? So see now. This is how it is stored in the database. And what were the values? These were the values you gave. Salary you gave as double. It was stored as, it was double column was used in the MySQL. Login time, date and time I used column. For storing date I used date column. For storing string I used varchar. ID got automatically generated and it was stored in int column. So as simple as this. So that is the reason Hibernate is so successful in the market because it can map any data type to any of your SQL type. Very powerful mapping it has got. Object relational mapping concept. Clear? So this is the support what we get in Hibernate now. So fine. You understood all this example. Only one thing what we have to see is now how to do the same example with annotation. So we have to learn annotations. So last class I covered many of the annotations for you. So only some few annotations you have to learn. So I'll go to the next example now. Which one? 06 basic anno. Mapping anno. So this example I'll go. So go there. So we'll not have the mapping file now. Clear? Employee.hbm.xml file will not be there. So look, this is how your employee class will be there. Same annotations which I explained in the last class. At the rate of entity, at the rate of table, you know that we are defining the properties. Now annotations will be applied on getter methods. This annotation I explained ID, column, generated value, all this I explained. Clear? Yes. So this for ID, then for name, you know we are using only one. Everything goes same, only for date and time, one extra annotation you have to use. What is that? See, column is same, name is equal to DOJ, that is okay. But one more annotation which you'll use is at the rate of temporal. You'll use this. Clear? And this is the enum, temporal type dot date. Now for this one what you'll use? At the rate of temporal annotation, temporal type dot timestamp. So temporal type is a enum. So if you want only date, you'll give the date value. If you want date and time, you'll use timestamp. That's it. Clear? So if you do this much, this code also will execute. So I'll come back to that annotation and explain it to you. So just let us run the program first. Let us see the output. So I'm executing the annotation program. Everything works here. Nothing is. See, it is working. Clear? So I used annotation in this example. So let's go to MySQL and check. The same values I inserted from annotation mapping, using annotation mapping. Clear? So it's almost all same. And now if you want to understand the annotation what it is, little information you want, yes, refer to Java docs, nothing else. Just copy this. You want the information of temporal, na? See, we have imported all this from javax.persistence package. All the annotations we are using is from javax.persistence package. So just copy this, put it into the Google, refer to Java docs. Any doubt you have, always get into Java docs, they will guide you. So what is that annotation? Say go to Java docs. Yes, it's an annotation. You can see the annotation must be specified for fields or properties of type date or calendar also. So you'll be using this annotation on date field or calendar field, anything, and it will be doing the, it will be used on that for mapping. Clear? Fine. Then you want what is the information of this now? Other one. What is that? Temporal type. Temporal type now? enum name is temporal type. So let's go and see that also. So it is here only, temporal type, or you can type here in the Google, it's already come. Temporal type, if you type, you'll get it. Clear? Okay. You see this, it's an enum. It is there in javax.persistence package. What are the different values? 3 constants are there defined. One is date, time, timestamp. So date will be mapped with date. Means if you want only time, that time you'll use time. And if you want date and time, you'll use timestamp. These are the 3 constants. So which one you want, you use. Understand, date means only date. Time means date and time. Sorry, only time. Date means only date, time means only time. Timestamp means date and time. So that is what happened. So here we are having date here. So that is why only date is getting stored. Timestamp means date and time. If you want only time, use time. That's one constant in that enum. So that's all. If you do this much, the mapping will happen now. Clear? Yes. So remember, all annotations are from javax.persistence package. Last class I had introduced about all that. Fine. That's about basic mapping. I got some notes for that. See this. Hibernate supports various types of mapping. One is basic mapping, other one is association mapping. Basic mapping. It is used to map Java data types like primitives, wrapper, date, time, string, etc. to corresponding SQL data types like int, varchar, date, etc. Fine. Following are the few Hibernate mapping types which are used to map Java data type to SQL data type and vice versa. So yes, mapping type. If you are having a string value, so Hibernate type is what? String. This Hibernate type will do the conversion from java.lang.string to varchar or varchar to java.lang.string. Similarly, integer value. This is a value. In Hibernate data type I will use this int. So Hibernate data type int is responsible for converting java.lang.integer to int of SQL and int of SQL to java.lang.integer, vice versa. From here to here it will convert, from here to here it will convert. Which one? This Hibernate types, mapping types will be doing the conversion. So this one small table I given to you. Next, double value. Hibernate type is what? Double. Whichever one I have used I am showing you. So it will convert java.lang.double to double, and from double to java.lang.double. Clear? Same way, date with time. If I want date with time, Hibernate type is timestamp. So it will convert java.sql.date or util.date to date time and date time to util date or SQL date. Same way you can understand. Date. I want only date means Hibernate type is date. Java.sql.date or util.date can be converted to, will be converted to only date, or from date to this one. So it's a simple table. But there are more values. I have just listed few here. Most important ones used. So there are many Hibernate mapping types. I just listed few of them. Okay. So and it is these data types Hibernate. Sorry, it is these Hibernate types which we use here. Where? When we use and do XML mapping. In XML mapping they will be used extensively. See here, not in annotations. They will be used extensively in XML mappings. Type is equal to int, string and all that. Clear? And see, this is one more thing I'll tell you now before I close the class. Sometimes if you want you can use what? Hibernate mapping type. Or if you want you can write java.lang.string. Like this also you can provide Java type there. The properties of type what? You are explicitly specifying java.lang.string. Like that only you can write here java.util.date and all that. But it is not recommended. You will get the output and it becomes very lengthy also. Now why I told you this is because when you are googling in internet, sometimes you will find this kind of mapping. So instead of using string, Hibernate mapping type, they will be writing what? Small string. Okay, S will be small. So instead of using that small s, they will be writing what? Java.lang.string. Hibernate mapping is always small in case, remember that. So but this is Java type now. Yeah. So they'll be using this. What is that small string going to do now, or Hibernate mapping string going to do? This value which was there earlier, This will do the conversion to java.lang.string. Internally it will do it. So we are supposed to use this, not java.lang.string. Here you are explicitly specifying. Don't do it. Clear? Go with Hibernate mapping type because it will be simple to write also and easy to understand also. But you will get the output. See, I'll show you the output now. I have written java.lang.string and I'll run the code. It will execute. There is no harm. Just I showed you because sometimes when you are referring to some what is that documents and all, you will be seeing that. So just to clarify that, I just showed you that. So it has executed. Again you can go and check. One more record will be inserted. Clear? So if you want, you can insert like that, but it is recommended always to use what? Hibernate mapping types. Use this. Done? Okay, so that's it about basic mapping. That's it.